Previously on Guardiola's Glory Hunter. Season 1 saw Pep begin his hunt of glory with a comfortable Premier League win, taking the league by 7 points despite a late defeat by Arsenal, before going on to Wembley to destroy Chelsea 3-0 and complete England at the very first attempt, before going back to Wembley and securing a Champions League to make it the most dominant first season in Glory Hunter history. And that was enough for Pep to leave Manchester City and depart the British shores and make a sensational return to Bayern Munich, where there was no immediate need to splash any cash until the sale of Joshua Kimmich to Al Hilal in January enabled him to bring in Ezequiel Palacios from Leverkusen, Oyhan Sanchez from Bilbao and Luka Sucic for Red Bull Salzburg to help push himself towards a Bundesliga challenge. A challenge that was never really a challenge, and he ran out Bundesliga champions, securing the league by a whopping 16 points, before destroying Freiburg in a DFB Pokal final to remember. Despite injuries to Harry Kane and Goretzka, it was comfortable enough, and a 3-1 victory for Bayern meant that Pep Guardiola in 2 seasons has won every single trophy he's eligible to win, a start that would have only been made better if he somehow would have got the Europa League in there, which has been impossible due to the new format. Which brings us to our present day. Pep Guardiola has resigned from Bayern Munich. He is unemployed. And once we filter out the leagues we've already completed from the job centre, there is only one job that sticks out. It's the job at Inter Milan, which we have already applied for on behalf of Pep Guardiola. And it's an Inter Milan team that has won Serie A in Season 1 before finishing 3rd in Season 2 by 2 points. So it was close, but no cigar for Inter, who sacked Simone Inzaghi but 4 days ago. And it is a team full of world-class stars that will be bolstered by the arrival of João Felix to go on top of the £74 million already spent. But that's providing Inter Milan go for us/Pep. They might go for Gaizka Garitano, who is the bookie's favourite and has done a very good job at Rennes so far. Another job that might potentially interest Pep would be the Lille job, the last team in France to stop PSG winning the league. But after finishing 10th in Season 2, surely that's too much of a drop down for our man Pep. Of course, the Bayern Munich job is still available, but the bookie's favourite is none other than yours truly. So who knows who might end up there, and might potentially just kick off a manager merry-go-round this summer. Another job that might kick off a manager merry-go-round is the Manchester United job. After an 8th place finish, they dispensed with the services of Erik ten Hag. But unlike Bayern Munich, it's Marcelinho who is the favourite with the bookies to take over, which would free up Villarreal, a potential route into La Liga. Back in the Premier League, it was Manchester City that followed up Pep's win with another win, giving Thomas Tuchel a Premier League trophy. And back in Spain, Jurgen Klopp led Real Madrid to the title, with Barcelona finishing in 3rd. Maybe Mikel's job might just be under threat. And as shown previously, Napoli won Serie A. And as you expect, PSG romped their way to the league title. The Champions League in Season 2 was won by Arsenal, backing up their final in Season 1 by destroying Real Madrid. And it was Napoli that took the Europa League to secure a fantastic double. But just to put a potential spanner in the works, Villarreal and Manchester United are both in the Europa League for Season 3. So that could potentially be another route to glory for our man Pep. Bayern Munich fancied a bit of PottsyFM, but I'm holding out for the Inter job. I need to get that for Pep. And just like that, we was offered an interview at Inter Milan. And you know how this goes. We just tell them what they want to hear. And just like that, Pep, was approached for the Inter Milan job. A £47.5 million transfer budget, but would that be enough to secure the Serie A? The season preview has them at 12-5 favourites for the league, and in Lautaro Martinez they have one of the most feared strikers in the league. Maybe we should have waited a little bit longer, as Luis Enrique left Paris Saint-Germain for Bayern Munich. PSG obviously the easiest job to get France ticked off, and they were quick to swoop for Unai Emery to bring him back to the club 3 days later. After failing with a bid to bring Serge Gnabry to Inter Milan, Pep splashed the cash on a midfielder in Rodrigo Bentancur from Spurs. He was also managed to bring a surprise name in, as Kai Havertz joined on loan from Arsenal. in a deal that will be made permanent next summer. And one of Pep's old teams in Manchester City made his job in Italy a little bit easier by prizing Victor Osimhen away from Napoli. The season started with a home game against City rivals AC Milan, which ended up as quite a dull 0-0 draw, which caused Pep to splash the cash, bringing in Beraldo from Sao Paulo. Kirill Despodov comes in from PAOK, and he goes back to Manchester City and brings in an old faithful right back in Kyle Walker. Will this be enough to push them forward for a Serie A challenge? A third of the way through the season, and Pep appears to be struggling, down in 4th. An inconsistent form in the Champions League leaves Inter down in 15th place after 4 league games. A Darwin Núñez hat-trick piled on the misery as Liverpool battered Pep's Inter 4-0 to leave their Champions League qualifying hopes hanging on. And the Serie A table looked a little bit worse on Christmas Day as they dropped down to 5th, thanks to a whopping 7 draws in his first 17 games. The January transfer window saw him bring in Rooney Bargi, the wonder kid joining from Copenhagen, for free, as well as the £13 million signing of Rafinha from Barcelona, and Sacha Boey comes in from old club Bayern Munich on loan to the end of the season. These transfers seemed to galvanise the Inter Milan team, and they rose to second in the table, 5 points off Napoli. But they didn't manage to kick on in the Champions League and had to settle for a playoff place after finishing 17th. A dominant performance in the Coppa Italia quarter-final saw them beat City rivals AC Milan a whopping 4-0. And with 8 games left to go in the league, they sat 7 points behind Napoli. Arsenal proved too strong for them in the Champions League and dumped them out 5-1 on aggregate in the last 16. Luckily for Pep, he no longer needs this one. And it was Napoli up next in the Coppa Italia as João Felix scored from a cleverly worked free kick before Marcus Thuram slid into the bottom corner to secure a comfortable win and send Inter Milan through to the Coppa Italia final. Would that turn out to be a psychological blow for Napoli, something that Pep's come synonymous with, as the gap at the top is reduced to 5 points with 5 games to go? If the cup defeat wasn't enough, Inter Milan then went on to beat Napoli 3-0 in the next league game to cut the gap at the top to just 2 points. He couldn't do it, could he? Napoli then went to Juventus and lost. And Inter Milan beat Genoa 2-0 at home to get to the top of Serie A with 3 games to go. How on earth has Pep managed to claw himself back to this position? To make things worse for Napoli, they went up against AC Milan next, although Pep decided to give them a chance by drawing 0-0 away at Lazio. But Napoli couldn't capitalise. Milan beat them 1-0. Inter Milan then hosted Sassuolo with a chance to put one hand on the Serie A trophy, but they were denied by their old striker Andrea Pinamonti. Milan and Napoli then both had the chance to overtake Inter with favourable fixtures, but both teams were reliant on penalty winners. Sounds a bit sus if you ask me. Max Fitchin in Italy? Who's ever heard of such a thing? AC Milan had a chance to win the league before Inter or Napoli even played, but a tricky game away at Lazio waited, where they were beaten 1-0 thanks to a Matthias Zaccagni goal in the 15th minute. Looking at the stats, Milan didn't really contribute much to try and bring themselves back into the game. Would they rue that missed opportunity? Napoli hosted Frosinone on the last day of the season, while Inter Milan welcomed Juve to the San Siro. 15 minutes on the clock and a tight offside decision denies Kvaratskhelia an early goal before the ball bobbled around at a corner and Nathan got in there to give Napoli a lead. 15 minutes later over in the San Siro, and the ball bubbled around from a corner and fell to Rooney Bargi at the back post for him to slam into the roof of the net to give Inter Milan hope. Into the second half, and a stunning strike from Lobotka gives Napoli a 2-goal lead. And then thanks to some really bad tackling in the middle of the pitch, somehow the ball bobbled for Eddie Nketiah to run through onto the Inter Milan goal, and he slots home to equalise for Juventus. Well, Napoli are doing their best to stuff this up as well, as they leave a man completely unmarked from a free kick, and his cross finds the striker to tap home and give Frosinone an unlikely chance. And into the 92nd minute in Naples, and Kvaratskhelia is the fox in the box as he heads home to break Inter Milan hearts and secure back-to-back league titles for Napoli. The goal wouldn't have mattered too much as Inter Milan could not break down Juventus, and that game finished 1-1. Lorenzo Insigne then labelled Ancelotti an outstanding manager following his back-to-back Serie A titles, but Inter Milan still had one more chance to put silverware in their cabinet for Pep Guardiola in his first season in Italy, and they done it thanks to a Rafinha strike, giving them a 1-0 win against Lazio in the Olimpico to give Pep Guardiola a trophy in his first season. Pep's got himself a budget of 57 million to go into season 4 with, but with rumours of a potential board takeover, could a tycoon be incoming? And will that be enough to keep Pep at Inter? Well, you'll have to join us next time to find out. And if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and while you're there, like this video. Because I, for one, am quite fascinated as what's going to happen in season 4 with Pep. Join us and find out.